Something is shifting in Afghanistan. The Taliban isn't fighting, they're building. Massive canals, new cities, and energy projects stretch across the land like veins of a new power network. To many, it looks like progress. To others, it looks like the start of a different kind of control. Under the harsh Afghan mountains, something unexpected is unfolding. Not the echo of gunfire or the ruins of another war, but the rumble of heavy machinery. The Taliban has taken the world by surprise with what they're building, but there's more to it than bricks and concrete. What's rising isn't just infrastructure, it's influence. A bid for control over water, power, and the trillions in minerals buried deep beneath Afghan soil. The same riches that have caught China's attention and quietly its involvement. And one of these projects is so enormous, so transformative, that it's being called the largest of its kind in all of Asia. But the full story goes deeper than concrete and canals. It's about power. It's about reclaiming a narrative the world thought was finished. Let's start 400 kilometers north in the endless sands of northern Afghanistan, where the desert hums with the sound of excavators. Here lies the Kosh Tepa Canal project, a man-made waterway so vast it could change the country's future forever. It's not just another construction site, it's a lifeline, a 115-kilometer water canal wider than California's famous aqueduct. Its purpose? To divert nearly 20% of water from the Amu Darya River across Afghanistan's barren plains. When completed, this canal could irrigate over 550,000 hectares of farmland. That's an area bigger than the entire US state of Delaware. It could increase Afghanistan's farmable land by a third, potentially making the country completely self-sufficient in food. Right now, over 6,000 workers are out there in the heat, operating enormous machines around the clock. You can almost hear the low growl of diesel engines echoing against the desert winds as they carve through one of the world's harshest terrains. The total investment, about $684 million, with the Taliban themselves injecting another $100 million into the project, a powerful signal that they're not just governing by force anymore, they're governing by infrastructure. But as with everything the Taliban touches, controversy is never far behind. Downstream, nations like Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan are starting to panic. They depend on that same river for their cotton fields and agriculture. The Taliban's message to them is blunt: we're taking our share whether you like it or not. And that's the part few are talking about. The Taliban isn't just building canals and dams, they're building leverage. Water has become their new weapon, and they're wielding it masterfully. Across the country, dam construction has surged. The Bakhshabad Dam, for example, is back under development despite fierce disputes with Iran over shared water rights. The Taliban's position is clear. Afghanistan controls the sources, and they'll do what they please with them. These dams aren't just for show. They generate hydroelectric power, giving Afghanistan energy independence. They irrigate farmlands, bringing food security, and most strategically, they give Afghanistan bargaining power over countries downstream that depend on those same rivers. Surprisingly, even critics admit that corruption in these projects has dramatically dropped. Unlike the US-backed governments of the past, notorious for losing billions to fraud, the Taliban appears to be completing projects efficiently, relentlessly. It's a sharp, unsettling shift, but water isn't the only thing they're reshaping. They're rebuilding the country itself, starting with a city that symbolizes their vision of a new Afghanistan. Welcome to Kabul New City, a massive urban reconstruction project designed to transform the capital into a modern metropolis. Covering 722 square kilometers, nearly 1.5 times the size of present-day Kabul. This isn't a dream, it's happening. The Taliban plans to build 250,000 residential units, enough to house between 1.1 and 3 million people. Imagine that, a city within a city, complete with universities, shopping centers, hospitals, and sprawling green spaces. Phase 1 alone includes 206 planned sections. The so-called Golden City Zone will feature over 42,000 housing units across 372 hectares. By August 2023, construction on Parcel B had resumed, 6,600 housing units for 40,000 residents. And by late 2024, work began on Parcel 2.6, a $700 million investment that will provide 52,000 more units. But this isn't just about shelter, it's about symbolism. It's the Taliban's message to the world. We're not just fighters anymore, we're builders. The full plan spans 30 years, a vision of commercial zones, parks, schools, and even recreational centers. If completed, Kabul New City would stand as one of Asia's largest planned urban developments. It's bold, it's ambitious, and it's unsettling to those who once saw the Taliban as an isolated regime incapable of modernization. But here's the twist. The Taliban understands geography better than most people realize. Afghanistan sits at the heart of Asia, the land bridge connecting China, the Middle East, and Europe. For centuries, empires fought to control these crossroads. Now, the Taliban is quietly building the infrastructure to take advantage of them. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, one of the most ambitious projects on Earth. In May 2025, China, Pakistan, and the Taliban signed a trilateral deal to extend this $60 billion corridor into Afghanistan. That means highways, pipelines, and railways linking China's Xinjiang province directly into Afghan territory, giving Beijing access to Central Asia's markets and Afghanistan's untapped mineral wealth. And it doesn't stop there. The Trans-Afghan Railway project, valued at $4.8 billion, will stretch 573 kilometers from Uzbekistan to Pakistan, slicing through Afghanistan and cutting transit time from 35 days to just 4. That's right, a cargo journey that once took over a month will soon take less than a week. To achieve this, they'll build over 300 bridges and 5 tunnels through mountains that have swallowed armies for centuries. Construction begins in 2025. Meanwhile, the Kaf-Herat Railway, linking Afghanistan to Iran, became operational in 2023, delivering its first cargo shipment of 655 tons of railway equipment. Suddenly, Afghanistan isn't landlocked anymore. It's land-linked with access to Iranian ports and global trade routes. The Taliban's message to the world: you may not recognize our government, but you can't ignore our geography. But maybe the most fascinating comeback story is that of the TAPI pipeline, a name that's been floating around for decades. TAPI stands for Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. The idea: transport 33 billion cubic meters of natural gas each year across these 4 countries. A $10 billion mega pipeline. For years, it was written off as impossible. Political chaos, terrorism, war, the kind of instability no investor would touch. But in September 2024, something incredible happened. The Taliban announced that construction had restarted on Afghanistan's portion. Their spokesman, Zabihullah Mujahid, confirmed it. Work had officially begun after ceremonies with Turkmen officials. This pipeline, which is 1,821 kilometers long, could generate nearly $1 billion annually for Afghanistan and create thousands of jobs. And here's the kicker. The Taliban were part of the original TAPI negotiations back in 1998, before 9/11. 2 decades later, they're back in power and picking up right where they left off. Energy isn't the only thing crossing borders. Electricity is too. The CASA 1000 project is another regional mega infrastructure plan, a $1.2 billion network designed to transmit hydroelectric power from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan down through Afghanistan and into Pakistan. Think of it as a superhighway for clean energy. Central Asia has massive hydropower potential but small populations. Afghanistan and Pakistan, on the other hand, are desperate for electricity. CASA 1000 bridges that gap. It's expected to carry 1,300 megawatts of electricity, enough to power roughly 1 million homes. Afghanistan keeps 300 megawatts for its own use, while the rest flows south. The most surprising part? The World Bank approved resuming the project in 2024, despite not officially recognizing the Taliban government. To manage this contradiction, they created a ring-fence system. All funds bypass the Taliban's financial control, but the construction continues anyway. In other words, even global institutions that refuse to acknowledge the Taliban can't ignore their strategic importance. And that's when the real story begins, because beneath Afghanistan's dusty mountains lies something far more valuable than canals or pipelines. Trillions in untapped minerals. Copper, lithium, rare earths, the essential building blocks of modern technology. Electric cars, smartphones, satellites, all of them depend on resources that Afghanistan is sitting on. For years, this mineral wealth was considered unreachable, too dangerous, too unstable, too corrupt. But now, with relative order and Taliban control, the game has changed. China has been waiting for this moment. For 15 years, Beijing has held rights to the Ainat copper mine, one of the world's largest deposits. And in July 2024, the project finally reopened, this time with the Taliban providing the security and local oversight that previous governments never could. Mining taxes now make up a massive portion of the Taliban's national revenue. In 2022 alone, they collected around $1.54 billion, much of it from mining and reconstruction. Those revenues are being reinvested into infrastructure, a cycle that funds itself. Minerals pay for roads and tunnels. Those roads make mining easier. The new wealth funds more construction. And nowhere is that clearer than in the reconstruction construction of one of Afghanistan's most treacherous roads, the Salang Tunnel. Built by the Soviets in 1964, the Salang Tunnel cuts through the Hindu Kush Mountains, 11,000 feet above sea level. It's the artery that connects Afghanistan's north and south. But over the decades, it became a death trap. Narrow, dark, unventilated, and overloaded. Designed for 2,000 vehicles a day, now serving nearly 9,000. In 1982, it was the site of one of the worst road disasters in human history, a fiery collision that killed over 2,700 people. For decades, no one dared fix it, until 2023 when the Taliban announced they had completely rebuilt it, spending $100 million of their own money. That's about a quarter of the country's entire annual tax revenue. The symbolism wasn't lost. The Salang Tunnel, once a symbol of collapse and chaos, is now a monument to something else: ambition. So what does all this mean? For the first time in decades, Afghanistan is building, not destroying. The Taliban, often seen as medieval rulers, are turning out to be pragmatic modernizers with a plan that's catching the world off guard. If these projects succeed, Afghanistan could become a central hub between China, Central Asia, and the Middle East, controlling vital trade routes, energy corridors, and mineral wealth. If they fail, the fallout could plunge the region back into economic and environmental chaos. What the Taliban is building goes beyond infrastructure. It's a strategy disguised as progress. Every dam, road, and mine carries a message. Control through creation. The world may not understand it yet, but they will soon. Don't miss what comes next.